I saw my teacher, his name, and so much in his Torah. He wrote them in my heart and then made me his servant. I say, I love Yahusha. I love him. His living water. I love it. Don't you sidestep his words, just obey and believe. Don't you sidestep his words, for his heart you will grieve.
Welcome to Torah Talk with Lew White and Mark Davidson.
It's the Torah Zone.
Hey brother, how you going?
Hey, I can hear you and see you. How's it look on this end?
Ditto. It's all good.
Wonderful. Hey.
How are you, sister?
Hello.
You look very colourful.
Well, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Very satisfied. Our fast is over.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's just starting for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love you.
Yeah, I love you too.
Okay. Yeah, she's looking nice today. This is Yom Kafar,
Yes.
10th day of the 7th month. There's so many people doing it so many different ways. Some a month from now, some 3 days before, 2 days before. Well, not before, but after. Yeah, they go after. Like some of these people are calculating the thing from, I think it's going to be the third day of the week or something next week.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Freaky.
We're so strangely different, you know, because we have teachers that are, you know, different, and they lead people into these ideas. Well, a lot of this is just anti-Semitic, you know, really, because they don't want to have anything to do with the older brother at all. But we're trying to re-establish that into one stick, you know, that's Yahusha's will. So we're going there, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, what is Yom Kafar? Does anybody know? What is that? Yom Kippur. Yeah. Yeah.
Day of Atonement.
Some don't have any water even, but of course we're not supposed to torture ourselves. It's supposed to afflict ourselves, but you know we do without food from sunset to sunset, according to what it says in what they call Leviticus 23 and Deuteronomy 16. From evening to evening, on the 9th day of evening until the 10th day of evening, you afflict your beings, you know. And of course, sometimes we get those kind of expressions on our face.
How did you know?
Did you have that face?
Oh, yeah.
Yahusha talks about not letting people know you're fasting.
Yeah.
You know, because it's supposed to be I look forward to it for some reason. it's like this. Oh, I don't have to worry about doing anything, but I do have, and I encourage people that, especially ill people, that they should give something up, but they need to not be doing something that's going to cause them to, you know, decline their health. You need to be able to, and children too. They're weaker, and if you are sick or whatever, that you can have something, but you want to make sure that you give up, you know, pleasures.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Pleasant things.
Mm.
You know, I like to drink a cup of coffee in the morning. You know, like I haven't had coffee. I've had no caffeine. So this is me speaking without caffeine, and it's early in the morning too. You know, on Yom Kafar.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not going to work hard at this, so that nobody wants to. If you want to accuse me of doing something that it involves work, it's a pleasure to talk to you. But I'm not talking to you because it's. I'm just helping. You know, you and I are going to be able to teach people what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think the connection is between the Day of Atonement and fasting? It's kind of a hard one like if someone asks about Passover, why do you have a lamb, or why do you, it's pretty easy to connect all the dots, leaving Egypt and the lamb and Yahusha's the lamb and everything. When it comes further down into the latter feasts, it's what's fasting got to do with the Day of Atonement and possibly the alive in Yahusha being transformed? Why fasting? I know it's just because it's written there we do it, but why do you think? What's fasting got to do with anything?
Well, when you do commandments, when you obey commandments, from inside them you see the truths that they have to teach you. And one of the basic things that people have to first establish is they have to find out about obedience. Obedience means that you're obeying your husband. You're showing your husband that you love him. You don't even understand why you're doing it. That's the first step. You just do it. And then when they do it, then they learn things from having done it. They go, wow, this teaches me something. Well, it's a shadow, too, of redemption. And it's about a plan of redemption that Yahusha is doing. And when that shadow starts to take greater, the edges start to make sense to you, and you see the shapes, and you go, yeah, I think I'm getting this. This is about something, But afflicting our flesh is doing this because what we're doing is we're showing Yahuah that he's more important than anything in our lives, because the king said to do it, we obey the king. And when we obey the king, we get rewarded. The king smiles upon us. And when he does that, he gives us the knowledge that we're not just his servants. We're also his friends. And when he sees us obeying him, we make friends with the king because we love the king, But he in turn turns around and shows us favor, And but it also is a picture of something in the future, the judgment that is associated with this. He knows that who obeys him and who doesn't obey him. And I'm not going to go into the fine points of whether or not somebody's doing it on the right day. We want to stay with Israel, that has done it for 3,400 years. So but that's why we do it on this day, because they understand it. But the redemption plan that's listed at Leviticus or Wayikra 23 and Deuteronomy 16. These are key places to find out about what the shadows are. And of course, we talked about the shadows last time. We have Passover, matzah, first fruits, Shavuot, Yom Teruah, the day of the blowing. And this is today, Yom Kafar. And then that's just 5 days before Sukkoth, which is Tabernacles. Now, the Day of Atonement. Okay, that's what this is also called. It's on Yom Kafar, and it involved 2 goats. One was the scapegoat, and the other one was slaughtered for Yahuah. And the sins of the nation of Israel were placed upon the goats by the high priest. And of course, Yahusha is our high priest. And he's also both goats, which is really interesting. Because the lamb is what these refer to. The lamb's first coming is the first goat. And the lamb's second coming is the second goat. But one had to die, and one lives and bears the sins, of the nation of Israel. And that's the interesting thing about it. It's about Yahusha. Yahusha, and it's spoken of here, and the 2 goats are spoken of in Leviticus or Wayikra 16 verse 8. Would you like to look at that real quick? Because that's the core of this. Yeah, let's look at that. Let's see if I can find it here. We also want to look at a couple of other scriptures because they're really important. Now, verse 8 starts out saying, "And Aharon," that's the high priest, "shall cast lots for the 2 goats, one lot for Yahuah, and the other lot for Azazel. And that's a name of a fallen messenger, actually. And Aharon shall bring the goat on which the lot fell for Yahuah, and shall prepare it as a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot for Azazel fell is caused to stand alive before Yahuah, to make atonement upon it, and send it into the wilderness to Azazel. And Aharon shall bring the bull of the sin offering, which is for himself, and make atonement for himself and for his house, and shall slaughter the bull as the sin offering, which is for himself, and shall make a fire holder filled with burning coals of fire from the altar before Yahuah, with his hands filled with sweet incense, beaten fine, and shall bring it inside the veil. And he shall put the incense on the fire before Yahuah, and the cloud of incense shall cover the lid of atonement, which is on the witness, lest he die. And he shall take some of the blood of the bull and sprinkle it on with his finger on the lid of atonement on the east side. Also in front of the lid of atonement he sprinkles some of the blood with his finger 7 times. And he shall slaughter the goat of the sin offering, which is for the people, and shall bring its blood inside the veil, and shall do with that blood as he did with the blood of the bull, and sprinkle it on the lid of atonement, and in front of the lid of atonement. And he shall make atonement for the set-apart place because of the uncleanness of the children of Yisharal, and because of their transgression and all their sins. So he does for the tent of meeting, which is dwelling with them in the midst of their uncleanness. And no man should be in the tent of meeting when he goes in to make atonement in the set-apart place, until he comes out. And he shall make atonement for himself and for his household and for all the assembly of Yisrael. And he shall go out to the altar, which is before Yahuah. Well, anyway, it goes on, and it talks about these 2 goats, Now, it says in verse 21, and then Aharon shall lay both his hands on the head of the live goat, and shall confess over it all the crookednesses of the children of Yisrael, and all their transgressions and all their sins, and shall put them on the head of the goat, and shall send it away into the wilderness by the hand of a fit man. And the goat shall bear on itself all their crookednesses to a land cut off. Then he shall send the goat away into the wilderness. Aharon shall then come into the tent of meeting, and shall take off the linen garments which he put on when he went into the set-apart place, and shall leave them there. Now, it's interesting that linen garments are a symbol of the spiritual clothing of Yahusha, and ourselves. That's another very important thing. Now, then he has to deal with the person who sent the goat away to Azazel. He has to wash his garments and all that. Well, it's a law forever. And on this particular day, it's talking about today, that was when this was done. And these were shadows of what the Messiah did and will do. For on that day he makes atonement for you, to cleanse you, to be clean from all your sins before Yahuah. Now that's starting at verse 30 of Leviticus 16. It is a Sabbath of rest to you, and you shall afflict your beings. A law forever. Now that's important to understand. It's on the 10th day. The 10th day of the 7th month, and that's something the high priest does. And Yahusha is our high priest. So these are shadows involving 2 goats. Now he's the high priest, and he's both goats. That's what Yahusha actually is. Now, this was to be done when we entered the land. Now we're doing it now because these words are coming upon us where he scattered us. So we're turning and we're obeying where we are. But in the history of Israel, they really never kept the festivals while they were in the wilderness until they entered the land. A lot of people may not realize that. They kept the Sabbath, but they didn't keep the other festivals. But when they entered the land, there was another thing that they were to do, and this is a very important scripture pertaining to today, Yom Kafar. Leviticus or Uikra 25, and it was called the Yobel. And there was something special that happened on the Day of Atonement every 50th year. And that's, let's see, chapter 25, which is just going a little bit further ahead. Now we're going to try to read just a few verses, starting at verse 2. Speak to the children of Yisharal, this is Leviticus 25, verse 2, and say to them, when you come into the land, which I give you, then the land shall observe a Sabbath to Yahuah. 6 years you sow your field, and 6 years you prune your vineyard, and gather its fruit. But in the 7th year the land is to have a Sabbath of rest, a Sabbath to Yahuah. Do not sow your field, and do not prune your vineyard. Do not reap what grows of its own of your harvest, and do not gather. No, do reap. Yeah, do not reap. Okay, and do not reap. Do not gather the grapes of your unpruned vine, for it is a year of rest for the land. And the Sabbath of the land shall be to you for food, and for you and your servant, and your female servant, and your hired servant, and for the stranger who sojourns with you, and for your livestock and the beasts that are in your land. All its crops are for food. And you shall count 7 Sabbaths of years for yourself, and at the time the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be to you 49 years. So he's numbering the 49 years. So the lunar Sabbathers can't make any numerical errors. Now, 49 years is 7 sevenths of years. Now, you shall then sound a ram's horn to pass through on the 10th day of the 7th month. On the Day of Atonement, cause a ram's horn to pass through all your land. And you shall set the 50th year apart and proclaim release throughout all the land to all its inhabitants. It is a Yobel for you, a Jubilee. And each of you shall return to his possession, in other words, the land that his family was bequeathed by Yahuah. And whatever has happened, if he sold it or whatever, it's returned to him. And each of you return to his clan. The 50th year is a Yobel, or Jubilee, to you. Do not sow, nor reap what grows of its own, nor gather from its unpruned vine. It is a Jubilee, it is set apart to you. Eat from the field its crops. In the year of this Jubilee, let each one of you return to his possession. And when you sell whatever to your neighbor, or buy from the hand of your neighbor, do not exploit one another. According to the number of years after the Jubilee, you buy from your neighbor, and according to the number of years of crops he sells to you. According to the greater number of years, you increase its price, and according to the fewer number of years, you diminish its price, because he sells to you according to the number of the years of the crops. Now, that's basically it. So the rental, I guess, on the land, or the use of the land, is according to how many years it is until the Jubilee, you know.
Mm.
So this is a very important day of events, you know. There's a lot of things that happen. But these are shadows too. See, Yahusha's not so concerned about agriculture. He's thinking this is a good way of teaching us. And so he used that. And it has everything to do with eternal life that he's offering us, you know.
If the Day of Atonement was all about the covering and the getting rid of the sin of the nation, possibly that's why you've come to the conclusion that the alive in Yahusha, who still remain, will be transformed, because that will be, when we leave our flesh behind, that will be finally the end of sin, won't it?
Yes. It'll be the end of us sinning, yes. We won't want to, because we'll be fully inhabited by Yahusha. You know, he's planning on being completely in us. And each one of us will be, you know, we won't have any tears, we won't have any death, hunger, thirst, and all that. You know, it's an interesting thing. When Moshe was on Sinai, or Mount Horeb, you know, receiving the 10 words, the Ten Commandments, he did not eat and he did not drink for 40 days and 40 nights. You know,
Yeah.
and that number 40 was a mystery to me. And of course, it's mentioned in many places. But I looked up a few of them, and they seem to be around the topic of testing and evaluating and judgment. You know, the number 40. One of the things that happened was the reigning for 40 days and 40 nights at Bereshith, or Genesis chapter 7, verse 12. It talks about how that was for 40 days and 40 nights. The rain fell. And then mourning, you know, meaning, you know, a sadness, mourning the death. I think it was Joseph that mourned the death of his father for 40 days and basically, and that was mentioned in Bereshith, or Genesis chapter 50. And then Moshe, of course, is up on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. And it specifically says he did not eat or drink for those 40 days or 40 nights. In Shemoth, or Exodus chapter 34, verse 28. Now that was amazing. And we understand that Yahusha did the same thing for 40 days and 40 nights. He didn't eat or drink before he entered his priestly duties, you know, when he was going to bring the message of deliverance. You know, repent, for the reign of Shamayim draws near, or the reign of Yahuah draws near. Well, how do you live for 40 days and 40 nights without food or water? You're living off of the force, the life force of Yahuah, his Shekinah, and that's probably why the nation, when they were in the wilderness, was able to survive, because they probably didn't have as much water as we would normally need, or as much food either. But they were in the presence, the nearness of the cloud, the Shekinah, being in the presence of the presence of Yahusha's name. That's an amazing thing. And then there was another interesting thing I found that went on for 40 days and 40 nights, and that was when they were searching out the land after the 40 years had ended, and the wilderness experience was coming to an end. The spies that were sent in to search out the land of what they call Canaan, that was going to become their land, the spies were there for 40 days searching out the land. Well, when they came back, and there were spies that said, "Oh, we can't possibly take this land. They're far too big." But Caleb and Yahusha, the successor of Moshe, were the only two spies that actually saw that, well, they have no chance because Yahuah is with us. Well, see, because they recognize something. They recognize Yahuah is more important, and he's greater, and he's with us. That's the thing. Now, how do we get through? Why do we do the fast? We do it because we're obeying Yahuah, and we are making him more important. We're realizing, we're recognizing that he is more important than anything. That's why, even more important than food when we're hungry, and we will not do what he told us to not do. We just obey him. And when he sees that, he recognizes in us, our hearts are for him, just like Yahusha and Caleb's hearts recognize he's with us. And when we're in the worst part of our day today, when we're really, really hungry, we can turn to him, and we see him, and he gives us strength. And anyway, they were searching out the land in Numbers 14. Verse 34, you'll see the beginning of this. And because the judgment that falls, or the number 40 is significant, because they did not believe that Yahuah was capable of being with them to go into the land. It wasn't after 40 years. It was in the beginning of the 40 years. Excuse me. It was before they went into the land to discover whether or not they were going to be able to go in right away. That's when they did it. It wasn't after the 40 years. it was at they were in the land for 40 days. And then Yahuah said, because you did not have a heart to go into the land to take it, that I'm going to give you a year for a day. You were in the land for 40 days, so I'm going to keep you out of the land for 40 years. That's what it was. You have to forgive me. It's early in the morning, and I may have misspoken. But and then there's another 40 number in the idea of Nineveh. When Yonah went into Nineveh, he proclaimed, "Yet 40 days, and this town will be destroyed." Remember that?
Yeah.
So that was a number of judgment. And then the fast of Yahusha in Matthew 4, verse 2. He fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. And then he was tempted at the end of that by Hashatan. And then there was another interesting thing, too. In Acts 1, verse 3, it talks about the fact that Yahusha was seen alive for 40 days after his resurrection. So that's another 40. And of course, these are tests and evaluations and sometimes judgments. So that's that number 40 is interesting. But it's the afflictions that we get in life, and holding fast to Yahuah, we keep his commandments, and we abide in him. That's what Yahusha kept saying: abide in me, and I will abide in you. And he talks about branches of trees, or branches that are broken off. Well, if you have a tree and the root is supplying the life to the tree, then some of the branches are going to be falling away by pressure. Maybe wind blows them off, or because they're dried up. They dry up because they're not abiding in the life of the sap of the root. That's done by the Torah. You live by his commandments. And when you live by his commandments, then you have his strength and his knowledge that flows through you. And then you are not shaken, and you're not going to be broken and torn away. This is one of the things that the illustration of the tree, the fig tree, and being one stick. Instead of being two trees, he's going to make both into one. And we can't do it if we keep observing differently. That's why it's very, very important that we remember that the house of Yehudah and the house of Yisharal, which we are, must observe and walk together. We have to walk the walk. And if some of us, being returning branches to the tree to be engrafted again, if we're saying, well, this tree doesn't know what it's doing, it hasn't any idea, because I'm reading this scripture and I'm getting a completely different message, about the timing. I think Yahusha is going to correct us slowly, and he's going to bring us back in slowly, but he's waiting for us to do that so that the restoration of all things will occur, and then he will return. So it does have something to do with us. We have to get our act together and stop being selfish and hypocritical and trying to, act like we're better. We actually need to be servants of the older brother when we come back to the household, Not try to beat him over the head with these new ideas about lunar Sabbaths, or no, you don't know when the new moon is. You have to see the moon. It doesn't say you have to see anything. You can look up at the moon, but I always think about evening, because that's when the day starts. But you can see the morning before the sun comes up. The moon is a sliver on the other side the day before the new moon. And then the next morning you don't see them, and you don't see it at evening either. So you don't see the moon, the new moon, because it's between the sun and the earth.
Yeah. So you're not saying that the tree is the older brother. The tree is Yahusha, isn't it?
Right. That's right. We engraft into him, and the older brother never left the household. That's what the parable teaches us. They may have been in an unbelief about his messiahship, but he's going to reveal himself to his brothers. You know, that's what Zechariah 14 is telling us. You know, they will look upon him who they have pierced, and they will mourn for him. And, you know, but today we afflict our flesh. You know, now what is afflicting our flesh? The word is really afflicting our nephesh. You know, the nephesh is the essence of that he shared with us that gives us life. It's our life breath, too, a breath of life. And when we afflict it, we reflect upon who's in charge. Our flesh is warring with our nephesh. Our spirit inside us does not want to obey because our flesh is whipping us and saying, "You're hungry." Well, or "That looks good, let's do that." You know, that's always the temptation. Our flesh is a temptation to us. So when we do this, this makes our nephesh force our flesh to comply. And that's what I've learned over the years, is it gives our nephesh an inner strength, but it has to be coupled with Yahusha's strength and his mind to overcome the flesh. So it's really about overcoming the flesh. Just a little one day of fasting. You don't feel it until later, though. In the morning, right here, I'm not really feeling any pain, you know. But later this afternoon, it's going to go, uh-oh, you're getting hungry. And then your flesh is going to say, I'm reminding you of something. Well, it's the pain that we have to endure is so slight compared to the pain that Yahusha endured for us. That's the thing that gets me through it. Remembering that, you know, just, oh my, you know, this is nothing. This is nothing compared to what he endured for us, each one of us. So that's something to remember.
Yeah. You were talking about Yobels before the Jubilees. A lot of people like to count the Jubilees to determine around about when they think Yahusha will return. I know we're not going to do a chart up, but have you ever done that? Do you know or put any kind of stock in that concept of counting Jubilees? Or
he didn't say predict. He said, no. Yeah, that's why I don't do it. I don't count, and I look at people's work that they do, guessing when certain events happened, and that must have been the Jubilee, and they can count backwards and then figure out where, or really find out what year that they knew was Jubilee, and then count forward in 50-year parcels. The book of Jubilees is actually what it's called. If you ever get a chance to look at the book of Jubilees, you'll see that they're parcels of 50 years, you know, and it even refers to people's lives as being born in the such and such Jubilee in the year of you know, what year of the Jubilee it was, and that's really the way Yahuah tracks it. I think he tracks everything according to Jubilees. But whether or not this year is Jubilee or not, we don't know. But I suspect that Yahusha will return, as you were implying, on a Jubilee year, because he's going to release the earth from the hold that the current tenant we call the dragon. He's been running this show for a lot of Jubilees, and Yahusha is going to completely take the reins and give us the reins to share with him if we're in the first fruits group, you know, the higher calling in the first resurrection at his coming. So the year that he returns will probably be in the 7th month. It'll be happening in the 7th month. And so these things are all shadows of those sorts of things.
If he returns on a Jubilee year, does anybody know when the last Jubilee year was?
Well, there's people that believe they know,
Okay, yeah.
but I don't know.
No.
And the reason that I don't believe anybody really knows is because all of Yisrael is in captivity in the nations. We haven't been in the land. So you're only supposed to keep the Jubilee in the land. In fact, one person asked me a question once, and I don't know, this is possibly not significant, but he said, is there any record of the people of the nation of Yisrael observing the 7 Sabbath festivals outside the land when they were in captivity? Like, for example, when they were in Babylon, did they keep the festivals? And I honestly had to tell him that there was no evidence of that in Scripture, that they ever observed any of these festivals outside the land. Of course, the land was vast, and it was each person had each family, tribe had their own area, but they went to Jerusalem to, 3 times of the year. That's where they had to go. There was no other place that they were told to go but Jerusalem. Now, that was when they were in the land. Now, when they were vomited out of the land because of disobedience and sent into the nations and scattered for some 2,730 years now, starting out with, the time that they were thrown out of the land the first time, we have, the Assyrian captivity of the northern tribes. And then we had 200 or 130 something years later, the Babylonian captivity, So we've got those 2 scatterings, major scatterings, and then we had a third scattering in the year 70 CE with Titus and Vespasian, the Roman legions, and we're really not in the land now. We think we are. The United Nations brought the Yahudim back to the land, but that was with the intention of wiping them out by placing them amid all their enemies. And the Yahudim, the Orthodox, know that that's not the regathering, and they say, we shouldn't be there, because the Messiah has to regather us. We can't just pack up our bags and say, I'm going to make Aliyah and go back and go up to Jerusalem. You are doing that, in your flesh is what you're doing. But, I've had people call me and say, when are you going? Or when are you going to go? When are you going to move? And it talks about our flight. Our flight, it says, well, and one elder, one teacher, I'm not going to mention any names, he said, it's talking about airlines, airplane flights.
What airline are you taking?
Yeah, when are you leaving? Moving to Jerusalem. And a lot of Christians and Nazarene have asked me that question. And I said, I'm going to be moving there. I'll be moving to Jerusalem when Yahusha comes back. Yeah. In the new city.
Supernatural airline.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
But we know who's in charge. See, we have to remember that. And I have to remember that this the way we act, our behavior, and whether it's obedient or whether it's not, even though we're not in the land, most of the Nazarene are observing the festivals. Because I know that people are saying, well, you're not keeping it on the right day. Well, that's because we're scattered, and we do the same thing with the Jubilees. We wouldn't be keeping it in the right year because, this is the condition of being scattered.
Yeah.
It's just, how are we supposed to know,
Everyone's got a piece of the puzzle.
Everybody's got a piece of the puzzle, but they're all shadowy. They're very shadowy. But our hearts are turning to Yahuah, and we're doing these things as well as we can understand them. And of course, he's the one that gives us understanding in the first place. So if one person understands something differently than we do, or if we understand something differently than they do, we should not judge one another, but we should realize that Yahusha can make both of us stand. He can do it. Because we're doing it for him. So why not? You know, why not accept a brother or sister who has a different understanding?
Yeah.
You know, the ones that are the most angry about everything are missing it. They're so bound up in the refinement of the technical moments of everything. If you're a day before the vernal equinox, you know, that's a dead. If the U.S. Naval Observatory says that the center line, the very moment of the vernal equinox happens, and if your new moon started before that, just a moment or two, then it's not the new moon. You know, it's like, well, okay, you're going to do it a month late, okay, but it's still, you're doing it. You know, your heart is not. We're not judging you. You know, because you're doing it next month. That's not what we're going to do.
Yeah. It's all about a behavior, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about, and we love those people that we think are misunderstanding it, and if they're right, then we are not going to be judged because we did not judge. You see the way that works?
Yeah.
If you do not judge, then you will not be judged. And he's talking about these kind of things, you know, genealogies and all this stuff that we go through. There's people judging people according to race. You know, don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, Amy was on Facebook tonight, and she said there's just so much the Nats room are just starting to turn on other teachers now and tear people down. And she said after seeing what happened to you guys, it's just like, it's so pathetic. Why can't you just glean from what someone's teaching? And if you don't like a bit, well, okay, fine. You don't have to go out of your way to rip people apart. It's like, you don't have to believe every word someone says. You know, why can't we just get the best bits out of what, you know, glean from everybody's teaching and listen to Yahusha's voice and just leave everyone alone and mind your business.
Yeah, I have all kinds of things that I'd say that are not correct. And last week, I think I was talking to you, and I couldn't hear you very well, and I had misunderstood some of the things you were saying. And then I was on some other tangent. But when I was talking about when the new moon, when Passover happened, that I said something about the moon being on the other side of the sun from the earth. Well, that's nutty. You know, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just a human being, and I'm trying to form thoughts, and it's early in the morning, and this year it's right now it's Yom Kafar, and I haven't had any coffee at all. So a lot of people are thinking, "Wow, I always see him lifting a cup of coffee up. Where is that?"
Yeah.
It's about love, you know, and learning from these things and learning how much he loves us, because these are things he's done for us and he's going to do. He's going to do a wonderful thing one of these years, and we're going to be so ashamed of ourselves for the way we treated one another, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't want to do that. You know, laughing at each other, saying you're wrong, or you're damned, or you're going to hell, or because you're a false teacher, you know.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that. You know, I know that there's differences in teachings, but you have to be real careful. Yeah. That's why we don't want to make charts.
That's it. Yeah.
He said, watch. Yeah. And when the event comes, when the time that comes, you will recognize that time for what it is. But he didn't say to draw charts and predict. You're not. where's that at? You know,
That's for the soothsayers.
that's right. And there's so many people that have had egg on their face, so to speak, and been actually false prophets, having declared that in His name they declared this or that, and then that it comes out that they're not telling the truth, and they have to be restored to the body, and they've done great damage to the body, and they've done damage to themselves and their reputation as well. You know.
Yeah. Wow. I got these 2 CDs from you yesterday. I haven't had a chance to look at them. What's the difference between the two?
Okay. What are they titled? What's written on them?
One says Besorah of Yahusha Natsrim version, 123 pages, 1,223 pages, all 66 books. And then the other one has the Besorah Project. They're both CDs, they're not DVDs.
Okay. Okay. I don't really know what that second one was, but I was sending you an updated copy of the version without the typos.
Okay.
So improvements, and I'm going to continue to do that. I'll send you the CD with the text in a PDF.
Okay.
So you can see the improvements. You know, sometimes I'll take a letter like a word like a, and I'll make it an to make it better read and flow in the English. Just sometimes that happens, and then I've got some more corrections that will be made as time goes on, and I just want to keep you up to speed. See, if something happens to this country over here, or the internet, and I've been taken offline, or I'm dead, or whatever, that there won't be just one place that this will be coming from. There will be a source. You'll have the latest thing.
Yeah.
So you can carry on with it. You know.
Definitely.
I don't have any problem. You know, at this point, you know, but you never know, because see there's a lot of enemies that this country has because of its behavior. Not the people. The people. It's not us. It's not the population. It's the government. This government is very high-handed. You know. I don't know if you've noticed, but let's go smack them down. Let's send some missiles.
Yeah.
What? What do you ought to be arrested for a war crime for even talking like that.
Yeah.
I mean, but they just, and then they do it, you know. Hello? Wasn't that a war crime?
Yeah.
What did you just do? Oh, yeah, well, there's some collateral damage, of course. But, yeah, I don't want to go to the political thing, but, you know, it's crazy over here, you know.
Yeah, we just got a new Prime Minister this week. Yeah. So everyone's got mixed opinions and mixed feelings.
Yeah.
So
I like Hawaii's motto. Hawaii has a motto. Have you ever heard it?
No.
It's the life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness.
Wow.
Huh? Is that a good motto?
That's good.
The life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness. And of course, if there's unrighteousness, the life of the land is not perpetuated. You know.
Yeah. That was interesting. That picture you sent about the what was it? Nuclear radiation coming from Japan.
Oh yeah, you saw that.
Yeah.
There's an intense amount of radiation that's been just pouring out of, I think it's 4 different nuclear facilities, and this is making Chernobyl look like a picnic. You know.
Have they evacuated that area at all?
Well, the area, yeah, right in Japan. But the thing of it is, the air and mostly the water in the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, there's wormwood, as I like to call it. The pollution of radiation is pouring into the water, and it has already poured an enormous amount in, and it's actually reached vast areas.
Mm.
In that picture, it showed you where it's reached. Hawaii is right in the center of the path of that,
Mm.
which is sad.
So it's coming towards North America.
Oh, it's already here. Yeah, they've said that they've detected radiation. Yeah, and a lot of the West Coast, which is the West Coast of the United States, is where they grow a lot of our vegetables. Throughout the season in California, and so I'm assuming that the water cycles are. Of course, people say that the Pacific Ocean is vast and it's going to absorb all that radiation, and there's not really that much to fear. But when the first remnants of that that tsunami, when it brought all those boats and buildings and all this stuff back into the ocean, it washed it towards Alaska and Washington State, northwestern United States, and there were radiation levels on this floating on the floating mass, stuff.
Mm.
So all the stuff that was coming from Japan was irradiated.
Wow.
You don't hear it in the news very much over here, though.
No.
Do you hear anything about it at all?
No.
That's interesting.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the media everywhere is pretty much under control.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a friend pass by, and I said, "You better take." He's going to Hawaii. I said, "You got to take your Geiger counter with you."
One of those hazmat suits.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, it's interesting down here, the way Australians feel about the voting system. Like we watch movies and TV shows about Americans, and they've fought for so long to have the right to vote. And down here, we get fined if we don't. If we don't,
Uh-huh.
they have to force us to vote because nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's just so different. Most Australians think that their government is a joke. They don't even want to know about it. Certainly,
Oh, right.
certainly our generation. But
In your country, they think your government's a joke.
yeah. Whereas
Yeah.
America is so patriotic, and it's. I think generally we'd probably be more interested in the new president than than our own elected officials.
Well, I don't think the average American. I don't like to call us Americans because Americans include people in South America, North America, Canadians, Mexicans, all of us, But the citizens of the United States, specifically, when they vote, they're not doing it because they're patriotic. I don't think they're doing it because they're trying to get the government under control because they have to. They know that it's out of control. George Washington said that government is like a fire. You've got to keep it under control.
Mm.
And it can go out of control very rapidly, just like fire. But patriotism is in this country doesn't seem to mean affection for government. Patriotism is about the nation itself, the people, the citizens themselves. It isn't the government. The government is not liked in general.
Mm.
It's not well thought of. It's over intrusive. It's huge. It's just bureaucracies. It doesn't matter what level you go in. If you have to go to a government bureau of any kind, it's not good. It's a sad experience. It's not a fun experience, but it's oppressive. Just exactly the way our founding fathers didn't want it to be. But anyway, we have I think, a misinformed population too. There's a lot of us that don't even understand what the two words mean: conservative and liberal. Liberal means liberally governing, and conservative means conservatively governing. And those words mean just the simplicity. Liberal means large, and conservative means small. Large government Small government. Well, if you have a large helping, a liberal helping of apple pie, that means that your pie, your piece is large. That's a liberal piece. But a conservative piece is a small piece. So when people are, when they say I'm conservative, they mean, or they should mean, I am for small government that isn't expensive, but it's needed, but it's small.
Who's in right now?
Inefficient.
What's in
There's
right now?
liberals. Liberals are running the show right now. The people that want to inflate government, to make it larger, and make it more, intrusive into the lives of people. People that are, they say I'm a liberal. They don't know what liberal means. They think it means freedom or leave me alone. It doesn't mean that. It means just the opposite. It means that you're in for a lot of controls, and you're going to have to, what they call, comply with a lot of new laws, because they want to make more laws to control. Then the more out of control things get, the more laws are needed. And it's just the breakdown of the family that this is caused by, because when the family and the marriage is attacked, as we've said before in the marriage seminars, that it makes government have to catch up with all these, all the refuse, all the people that come from these failed marriages, and that includes their health. They have bad health because the family unit has been, attacked.
No one to look
And the
after them.
government, the government has to look after them.
When was the last time it was conservatively run? Was it ever?
Well,
I meant under like that label.
Yeah. Well, the planners are the people that want big government. They have all these huge plans to control people, and I don't know that it has ever really been under control since the founding fathers walked the earth, over 200 years ago.
Yeah.
But I really don't recall anything in my lifetime where there wasn't always some new laws coming down the pike, but the family's been in decline basically since the 1960s here in this country.
So there hasn't actually been a conservative president in office?
Oh, there's been conservative presidents, but whether they acted conservative or not, or were able to act that way, because see, the way that things are set up, it's just not fun. Yeah. There's always opposition, and if one person's a conservative and the group is liberal and they have a majority, then it's hard to get anything done. Right now they're trying to keep the government from swelling. The conservatives are trying to hold the government back from getting larger and larger and larger and just becoming totalitarian. But the liberal voters don't even know what they're voting for. They actually vote in these people for big bureaucracy and giant governments. And a lot of those are actually on the take because they are people receiving from the government, and they actually don't have any interest in anything but receiving what the government gives them. So there's a voting bloc that is actually just going to continue in that, that way of thinking.
Yeah. Well, it's all going in one direction anyway, isn't it?
It's going to go bad, yeah. And we're not hateful about it. We just have to say, well, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And then when religion merges with strong governments, then people start losing their heads, as we hear is happening in Syria right now. In one day, they had 4 beheadings. People are losing their heads. They're young people that are just, in the wrong mindset or accused of being of the other persuasion, and killing each other. And they're gassing each other, with nerve gas. It's sad.
Just waiting for the stone to hit the statue, eh?
Yeah. When all these governments of men finally look up in the sky and they see the Shekinah on its way, and they say, "What's going on now?" And they're all going to be hiding under rocks, and we're going to be jumping up for joy, going, "He's coming!"
Yeah.
And he's going to be the one enthroned.
Yeah.
And he'll put all the other governments under his authority, whatever's left of them. There won't be any real I mean, there'll be remnants, but not much.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, it is. But maybe you never know. This year isn't over yet, so we'll have to see. See what happens, and maybe next year if it doesn't happen this year.
Yeah.
But the return of Yahusha is what we're all looking for. Those that are in a relationship with him are. The ones that are in a relationship with the world system are probably wanting him to stay away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yearn for his return. Anxiously. Yeah. So do I look in any pain at all to you?
You look a little bit tired. Probably not quite as awake. That's probably it.
That's it.
That's
it. Well, that's probably mostly the coffee.
Yeah.
I'm abstaining from coffee.
Yeah. I understand.
We've been if I look a little sleepy, that's
fine.
what it is.
I
have thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're moving out at the end of this week.
Wow.
Yeah, we're moving out of Malakuta.
Yeah.
And so we may not be able to do any shows for a little while. We are heading. Well, it depends. I might be in Sydney. My mother actually has my old, big, huge computer. So depending on the connectivity, we might be able to rig up some kind of conversation in a couple of weeks.
In a couple of weeks.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, after Sukkoth. Yeah, that's fine.
I may not have a green screen, but I can work something. I can pull some string. Yeah.
Oh, well, you have a fine one right there. It's just like a cloth.
Yeah, I could probably stick that up. Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. And we may not be going around Australia anymore. We might be taking our time just going straight up north, because Chris and Victoria are doing different things up north and thinking of opening a different salon in Port Douglas, so we might be taking over their old salon and all sorts of things. They're still working, ironing out the kinks, so the timetable might be sped up. So we might be there by end of the year. So it just depends on whether they, work out what they're wanting to do. So
you're going to go back up to where it's warmer then.
Where there's nice and warm. And Amy will be finished her qualification, so she'll be at home with the kids, and just, the kids go to school and they get a bit unruly, and so it's, looking forward to things calming down. Because when it's packing and you're moving, and it's just all the emotions and drama that goes with it, it's full on. It is.
Yeah, it is. Just remain calm.
Yeah.
I'm a doctor. Yeah.
But it's interesting what you said about when we're fasting. If we're obedient, he sees that we're putting him first.
Yeah.
And he blesses you. Like, we had people come over tonight because we're having a garage sale in the morning, and they said, "Oh, can we come over tonight?" And we hardly expect anything for this stuff, And they said, "Oh, we'll give you $400 for all this sort of stuff," and our jaws dropped. Our jaws dropped. Yeah. We're just like, wow, we didn't see that coming. We didn't expect hardly anything for it. It's like practically giving it away because it's, not very good stuff. And so, and that was just what she needed to pay off something else. So it's like you can see him moving everywhere.
Just leave him in charge.
Yeah, it's exciting. So we don't have to worry. He looks after us.
Yeah. And one of the philosophies, I talked to a brother yesterday, and a brother named Dan, and he lives in Colorado. And he's got a philosophy of where everyone around him is always trying to buy things and buy things and buy things and get all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He's trying to basically get rid of things. And it's actually helping his finances. First of all, he's not buying things, and he's selling things so that he actually receives a little something. You know, it doesn't have to be a lot. You know, just I'm done with that. I don't need that. If it's something you don't need, then go ahead and let it go.
Yeah.
Collecting
up riches and attachments.
Yeah. It's just you don't need it.
Yeah.
So just keep doing that. Just little by little, you can let something go and get a little something for it, you know, if you can. If it blesses someone, you can give it to them. But it helps them, you know. That's awesome too. Well,
yeah, it's been a pleasure, mate. I'll be in contact. I'll let you know where I'm at. I've got to spend 3 weeks in Sydney, so that'll be hectic.
Well, if it gets real hectic and you don't have time, don't worry about it. Don't feel like any pressure.
All right.
Just keep in contact, and you know, when something happens interesting, let me know. And get together when you have time and you get set up and you're comfortable. Yeah. But you have to a nest. You have a big nest.
Yeah, this will be a shorter Torah Talk season. This one.
Yeah.
All geared around the BESORAH, which is exciting.
Yeah. And it's amazing, really, to see the responses. A lot of people really are liking it. You know,
so
and I didn't
getting a lot of orders. It's good.
Well, it hasn't slowed any. Maybe 1 or 2 a day. Great. You know, which is great. Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, you know, gangbusters. I mean, people aren't, you know, I'm not seeing like, they're not breaking the door down, but it's something that will over time become part of people's understanding. You know, it's new and fresh, and some words that they're not used to seeing, and that's okay. You know.
Wonderful. Well, you enjoy, if you can, the rest of your day.
I will. I'm going to enjoy. I'm going to do a lot of studying, and I might watch an educational DVD.
Yeah.
We can't watch any movies. That's just one of the family rules.
Yeah.
We just basically take the day off, and if we do watch anything at all, some people won't turn on any electronics, but, you know, I don't think Yahusha is that severe, but if you want to do that for him, that's fine. We'll watch an educational, you know, a DVD, particularly one that's on a spiritual topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Wonderful. Well, love you guys, and I'll be in touch.
Okay. Love you. Have a good one.
See you later.
All righty. Bye-bye.
In the truth, not listening to lies. We possess the seeds to eternal life. We are your treasures. We are your bride. We would do anything to make you smile. The pressure is great, and we gotta pray for all of the casualties along the way. We need your wisdom, more of your love. Master Yahusha, please usher in the latter rain. So the world's gonna know your name, 'cause your love's like the brightest flame, and your truth will never be restrained. So send for the workers in the latter rain. Be students of kindness, be the forgivers of blindness. Show kindness, consider each other, love one another. Be teachers of truth, be vessels of brightness. Be gentle as doves and cunning as vipers. Usher in the latter rain. So the world's gonna know your name, 'cause your love's like the brightest flame, and the truth will never be restrained. Oh, Master Yahusha, usher in the latter rain. So the world's gonna know your name, 'cause your love's like the brightest flame, and the truth will never be restrained. So send for the workers in the latter rain. Send for the workers in the latter rain.